I married into her wealthy family for 10 years, when he sacrificed his health by drinking on her behalf, leading to stomach bleeding. She was intimate with her lover. During my hospitalization, I discovered that in order to bear her lover's child, she not only injected me with medication that would magnify allergic reactions, but also destroyed my right hand and my design dreams, and conspired with her lover to send me to pirates, which resulted in me being tortured until my intestines spilled out. I faked his death to escape. Then later, at my wedding, she came like a madwoman to beg for my forgiveness, but was rejected. She became declared bankrupt and lost all her assets due to prolonged alcoholism, then tortured her lover to death, and also revealed that she had splurged hundreds of millions to obtain a single sperm from her lover. Ultimately, abandoned by all, she shot herself. Onyx seemed to show reluctance, but Jennifer, why inject Mr. Robert with that medication? One injection will immediately magnify the allergens effect tenfold. What if Mr. Robert? Isabella scoffed dismissively. As long as I can win back Evelyn, with a little pain to him, even if he loses his life, I wouldn't bat an eyelid. Onyx was shocked. Jennifer, have you truly thought this through? This medication hasn't been officially put into use, and side effects might include amnesia. Isabella laughed scornfully. Harper has acted completely subservient, even with amnesia. He'll still love me based on physical instinct. What are you muttering about? Go now. I desperately felt the chilled liquid being pushed into my body, completely losing consciousness. When I woke up again, I was in the hospital. The severe pain in my body was less than 1/10,000th of the pain in my heart. The conversation I had heard earlier kept echoing in my mind. That year, Henry and I went to the competition together. He eloped for love, faking a suicide by jumping into the sea. Isabella, however, mistakenly believed that I had intentionally harmed him to win the championship. She not only destroyed my competition entry, the culmination of 3 years of painstaking effort, but also severed my right hand. My dream of becoming a designer was completely shattered. Marrying me initially was also to keep me close and torture me better. Previously, I thought if the misunderstanding was resolved, we could go back to how things were. If she let go of Henry, I could even forgive her infidelity to our love. But only today did I learn that she knew better than anyone that I was innocent all these years. Her escalating cruelty towards me was merely a performance to elicit another man's sympathy. A bitter ache churning in my chest. I heard the sound of heels clicking, as sharp, clear, and merciless, just like Isabella. Oh, you're awake. Look at your face. It's really hideous. She contentedly pinched my chin, pulled out her phone, and snapped several photos. Presumably, Evelyn will definitely be unable to resist showing up this time. I gave a self-deprecating laugh, my fingernails digging hard into my palm. My flesh was a bloody mess. Yet the pain was a mere fraction of what churned in my heart. She realized she'd let something slip. Then just as she was about to change the subject, a hand rested on her waist. Willow, you've done so much for my brother. I'll be so touched when he finds out. Isabella immediately cast me aside and snuggled into Leo's embrace. Really, Indigo, I owe you so much these past years for accompanying me while waiting for Evelyn. Their passion ignited, and they started passionately kissing as if no one else was there. My chest was suffocating. Gasping for air, unsure if it was due to my allergies or the suffocating scene, my face flushed crimson, desperately trying to clear my throat, a wave of nausea rising. Isabella interrupted, said this please, what's wrong? Can't you stand it? You should have considered the consequences the day you murdered Evelyn. I sneered, twisting my lips. Yes, you're right. She frowned, subconsciously glancing at me. Before she could speak, Zoe stopped her. Willow, why don't you wait for me in the car? I've prepared something Willow likes. The two became increasingly intimate, and a wave of bitter despair threatened to overwhelm me. Don't forget, we're not divorced yet. Isabella scoffed dismissively. You're not worthy. Go look at yourself in the mirror. This time, I didn't passively accept it but grabbed her wrist first. Her hand suddenly slipped, and she almost fell, seeing her visibly pregnant belly. I still let go. Slap. My face was unexpectedly slapped sideways. Oh, so you dare to resist me now? She scanned my nervous eyes and deliberately said, you don't even care about the child, do you? I hurriedly shook my head. This child was hard-won. How much torture did I endure? How many times did I beg her, before she finally agreed to carry my child? Isabella seemed to have me figured out and immediately snorted coldly. Since you admit your mistake, then show it. She maliciously raised an eyebrow and directly smashed the glass onto the floor. Go kneel until I'm satisfied. My face was pale, but I knew she clearly wouldn't let me off easily. Thinking of our child, I dragged my painful and swollen body and knelt on the shattered glass shards. A piercing pain surged to my heart. I suddenly remembered that we had sweet times when we were together before. Back then, if I even scratched myself a little, she would worry for ages. But now, with my knees bleeding profusely, she didn't even bat an eyelid, just cozied up to her lover. Just as they were about to go further, a struggle and hesitation flickered across her face. Zoe, however, provocatively glanced at me and seductively whispered to her, Willow, Don't you think this is more exciting than seeing her actually consider it? My eyes reddened. I'm not dead yet. Isabella, my severely painful knee had barely stabilized when she kicked me down. What are you to tell me what to do? You'll do as I please right here. She ordered the bodyguards to tie me to a chair. And then deliberately, in front of me, her passionate cries grew louder and louder. My eyes blazing with fury, I glared at her pregnant belly, tears uncontrollably pouring out. I bit my lip hard until I tasted the coppery taste of blood, then reluctantly let go. I don't know how long passed, but something was suddenly thrown at my face. And a sticky foreign substance instantly covered my face. Realizing what it was, I looked up in disbelief. Willow, I heard the stuff is good for skin. Nova's face is swollen like a pig's head. So aren't I thoughtful? Indigo is truly kind-hearted. It's really a bargain for him. Isabella gently draped a coat over him, then frowned and coldly rebuked. Why aren't you thanking Indigo quickly? A wave of indignation churned in my chest, and the bitterness almost drowned me. For a moment, I almost couldn't believe my ears, seeing the atmosphere turn rigid. So he said aggrieved, perhaps I should leave. It seems Nova doesn't care for me very much. I can wander the streets, but I wonder when my brother will return. He'll surely be heartbroken and riddled with guilt if he sees me like this. Isabella hurriedly pulled him. Her tone felt a pang of heartache. What are you doing? If anyone's leaving, it's him. Then she said fiercely, from today on, you get lost to the basement, and apologize to Indigo. I suddenly lost all strength and said self-deprecatingly, okay. I apologize, I'm sorry, Zoe. Isabella, however, glanced at me in surprise. Remembering something, she frowned again and said, don't try any tricks again. You'll walk back today. The mansions were on the hillside. By the time I walked back, it was past midnight. My feet were covered in blisters. My shoes already stuck to the raw, bloody flesh. The gate password was incorrect several times, but in a flash, I remembered Henry's birthday. Ding dong, the gate immediately opened. I sneered, curling my lips. The living room was brightly lit, but what greeted me was Zoe. Oh, you're finally back. I ignored his sarcasm and, dragging my tired steps, prepared to go upstairs. My footsteps suddenly halted when I saw the messy papers on the floor. It was my competition work from back then, but didn't Isabella destroy it? Without time to think, I hurriedly knelt to pick them up. But my intact left hand was stepped on and fiercely rubbed. So he picked up the thin paper and slowly smiled. You want it? Begged me, get on the ground and bark like a dog 10 times. My eyes were bloodshot, but I was helpless. This design draft, the culmination of 3 years of painstaking effort, was my life's work. When I first learned it was destroyed, I was so depressed I didn't eat or drink for 3 days, humiliated. I did as told. Now can you give it back to me? His lips, however, curved into a cruel arc. And he suddenly said, oh, right, you don't know yet, but Willow's not carrying your child, is she? I instantly froze. What do you mean? You're just trying to provoke me, aren't you? Zoe laughed gleefully. TS, how pathetic. My brother was even afraid you'd steal his position. And after eloping with someone, he deliberately spread news that he had a good relationship with you but was heartlessly betrayed, which caused Willow to resent you for years. My chin was suddenly brutally gripped, and you don't even use your dense head. How could she be pregnant with your child if she hates you so much? My brain felt like a lightning bolt. No wonder Isabella's pregnant belly was far more pronounced than other women at the same stage. So, the child I had longed for was not mine, back then. To get pregnant with my brother's child, she had to Grandpa John. Ha 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 ha. And she splurged hundreds of millions on it. Isabella's company was almost bankrupt recently, so that's where the money went. So what was my working multiple jobs from dawn till dusk to support her and the child for? The light in my eyes flickered out. I have no other demands, as long as you return the draft to me. Want the draft? Come get it yourself. I subconsciously reached out but was pulled by him and rolled down the stairs. From a distance, it looked like I had intentionally pushed him. What are you doing, Harper? Do you really think I wouldn't dare touch you? The furious shout came from behind. Isabella quickly stepped forward, felt a pang of heartache as she covered the cut on her hand, but my head gushing blood. She didn't even glance at me. This is Evelyn's own brother. If anything happens to him, they'll make your whole family pay. I gave a self-deprecating laugh. She rarely froze. What family do I have left? Back then, to save her from drowning, I abandoned my family mid-drive, but by the time I saved her, my family was run over by a drunk Ashley driver in front of me, turned into meat paste. Isabella knelt before me, tears and snot flowing, promising never to betray me in her life. But now, things had changed, and people were no longer the same. She stammered, about to say something, when a subordinate suddenly reported Jennifer. It seemed we found traces of Mr. Henry. Isabella immediately forgot everything, grabbed the coat, and hurried to chase after him. But Zoe stopped her. He looked at me, grieved. Willow, my wound hurt so much at someone. Give Harper 100 cuts in the same spot. Her cold mercilessness made it seem as if her momentary softness was just my illusion. So he covered his bean-sized wound, watching me gleefully take good care of him. Don't neglect him. By the time the 100 cuts were finished, I was already bleeding profusely, in so much pain I fainted. When I woke up again, I was in the emergency room. Countless experts surrounded me. Seeing me awake, Ari Jordan hurriedly came over. Cole, you're finally awake. Do you know how worried I was about you? I curved my pale lips, patting her shoulder reassuringly. Seeing my confused gaze, she proactively explained, these are top experts I've brought from all over the world. Don't worry, Phil definitely cure you. Remembering something, her eyes reddened again. I won't let any of those beasts go. I promise to make them suffer 100 times more than you. Before leaving, I also set a fire, so everyone thinks you perished in the flames. From now on, you just need to focus on your experiments. Ari is the only daughter of a billionaire, and her uncle is Riley. She indeed has such power. My phone vibrated, and Zoe's video call popped up. I heard about it too. Get well at Ree's place. We'll start when you're fully recovered. My heart warmed, and I nodded heavily. After hanging up, Jordan added a coat for me and asked if I was thirsty. Seeing her busy about, I couldn't help but sigh. Ari was good in every way, just a little stubbornly devoted. Even though I was married, she had been waiting for me all these years. Before I was pushed into the operating room, she said again, Cole, don't feel too burdened. I'm good to you not just because I like you, it's also because you're my Cole. The team had been kept talking about you all these years you've been away. My nose stung, and I suddenly realized what I had missed in the past. Isabella had been feeling restless and uneasy these past 2 days. Are you sure Harper left first that day? Onyx sighed helplessly. Yes, Jennifer. This is the 10th time you've asked me. Didn't Mr. Zoe tell you that Mr. Robert sulked and acted jealous and went back first by small boat? Oh, Zoe, I asked if you saw it. Onyx was momentarily stunned and shook his head. Useless. Why aren't you going to find him? Willow, you don't believe me. Zoe's eyes instantly reddened. Never mind. They'll just leave. My brother is coming back anyway. It's time for me to go. What? Your brother is coming back? Isabella again cast Harper aside and hurriedly comforted him. Willow trusts you most. No more searching. No more searching. Didn't you say you wanted the mansion on the east side? You'll have someone give you the keys tomorrow, as long as you tell me about your brother's whereabouts. Zoe breathed a sigh of relief and smiled proudly, taking the opportunity to John. Isabella frowned but agreed to everything. Onyx, however, kept this in mind. The first thing he did upon landing was to send people to search for Harper's whereabouts. But he seemed to have disappeared into thin air. Various reports indicated he might still be at sea. Onyx was shocked and went to find Isabella, only to discover she was tangled in an embrace with Zoe. Jennifer, there's an urgent matter concerning Mr. Robert. What could possibly be urgent about him? From now on, don't report anything about him. Her mood interrupted. Isabella unhappily turned on the TV. It was broadcasting news of pirates and male citizens tragically dying in a fire, perishing in international waters. She snapped it off and cursed. What bad luck. The man behind her gave an inexplicable smile and embraced her again. Afterward, Isabella lay exhausted on the bed. And inexplicably, she thought of Harper. He had been gone for 3 days. Surely, he had realized his mistake by now. But strangely, this time, he had not apologized or begged her to come home. Isabella felt a bit annoyed, got up, and prepared to go home. Her wrist was suddenly grabbed. Willow, one more time, please. Looking at Zoe feigned a grieved expression. She surprisingly didn't compromise this time. Instead, she frowned. Be good. They'll come see you in a couple of days. Willow, my brother is coming back soon. The unease in her heart made her slap his hand away. For the first time, she felt that Henry seemed not so important after all. Returning home, the divorce papers on the table were strikingly conspicuous. She trembled, clutching the papers in disbelief, crushing them out of shape. Divorce? Why didn't anyone tell me? Onyx rushed over upon hearing the news and cautiously said to Jennifer, you said earlier that nothing concerning Mr. Robert needed to be reported to you. Isabella's throat choked, and she snapped, go tell him my patience has limits, and there's a limit to throwing tantrums. After speaking, she herself froze, realizing for the first time how important Harper was in her heart. Looking up, she found traces of his meticulous arrangements everywhere in the mansions. Her heart warmed, and she couldn't help but feel a dense wave of guilt. The torture she had inflicted on him all these years was enough. She silently vowed that once Henry returned to the country, and she saw him one last time, after that, she would live a good life with Harper. Go ask where Mr. Robert is, then book a candlelight dinner. Thinking of Harper's delighted face, she couldn't help but curl her lips. But Onyx hesitated. Jennifer, Mr. Robert, he has already. What about Harper? Don't hesitate to say it. As long as it's his wish, I can fulfill it. She couldn't help but remember that Harper seemed to have never asked her for anything. In contrast, Zoe always covertly asked her for many luxury items. But the next moment, Onyx shattered her beautiful fantasy. Jennifer, Mr. Robert has passed away. Passed away? How is that possible? Isabella suddenly screamed, then remembered something and shook her head with a bitter laugh at Cameron. Tell me the truth quickly. Where is Harper? But the expected reaction didn't come. Onyx said with reluctance, Jennifer, Mr. Robert really passed away a few days ago. He unfortunately perished in the flames. Isabella suddenly remembered the news she had seen earlier. The words of blame for Onyx died on her tongue. She suddenly recalled that it was she who had personally ordered not to hear any more news about him. The chance to see Harper one last time was a chance she had personally squandered. A coppery taste welled up in her throat, but she bitterly swallowed it down unexpectedly. She remembered that every time Harper was mentioned, Zoe would deliberately try to distract her. Her fingertips dug hard into her palms, and a furious rage burned in her chest. Now it seemed, Zoe must know something. Thinking of this possibility, she suddenly froze. Her voice trembled severely. Go investigate who Mr. Robert met before his death. Focus on his past with Zoe. Onyx worked quickly. He hurriedly came to knock, holding the results. But Zoe got there first. Willow, that new luxury item store looks great. Will you go shopping with me? But Isabella didn't react as he expected. She merely gently pushed him away and looked at Onyx behind her coming. Zoe's eyes darted around, and he instantly panicked. Willow, my brother is coming back soon. I know where he is. Shall I take you to see him? But this time, Isabella only frowned for a moment, then relaxed. Let Onyx come in first. Onyx glanced at him inexplicably, then began to report everything truthfully. Jennifer, I just found out that Mr. Robert's death is inextricably linked to Mr. Henry. He bribed the pirates. At that time, his brief disappearance was merely a ploy. When you dispatched your subordinates to look for him, he personally knocked out Mr. Robert and sent him to the pirates. Onyx continued speaking, but Zoe's face turned pale. He never imagined that such a flawless plan would be discovered so easily. The pirates, Mr. Michael. Eyewitnesses recall hearing Mr. Robert's agonized screams from afar until Mr. Robert's intestines spilled out, his body bleeding profusely. Only then was he released. Onyx sighed, seemingly with reluctance, but when they saw Mr. Robert had no value left, they even wanted to boil him into soup. Finally, for some reason, the big fire broke out, and they and Mr. Robert perished together in the flames. Zoe's body trembled severely, and he almost knelt down directly. And no, that's not true. Willow, this is slander. Onyx, however, looked at him indifferently and handed it to Isabella. This is the information I just found. It shows his specific overseas transfer records. Isabella's head buzzing, and upon seeing the information, her vision blurred again. The clear black and white document showed an amount of $30 million, which was the money she had personally given him to buy sports cars recently. In other words, the money she gave him completely bought Harper's life. Isabella's heart was pierced, and her eyes erupted with intense hatred. But Onyx's words continued. Not only that, Jennifer, I also found out that Mr. Zoe had constantly provoked him before. Actually, the time Mr. Zoe rolled down the stairs, it wasn't Mr. Robert who did it. He just wanted to get back the design draft from Mr. Zoe, but he was pulled down the stairs with him. Oh, right, Mr. Zoe also told him the truth you have been hiding all this time. The hidden truth. Isabella's face turned pale for a moment. Harper actually knew that the child she was carrying was not his. She suddenly didn't dare to think how much pain Harper must have felt in his heart. No one knew better than her how much Harper had longed for this child. She had splurged hundreds of millions to obtain a specific item from Henry. When the company was almost bankrupt, it was Harper who worked multiple jobs from dawn till dusk, allowing her and the child to continue their former luxurious life. But later the company resurrected. The countless sums of money she spent to find Henry were even more for Zoe's financial benefactor. Dakota, anything he even glanced at, she would buy that day and have it delivered to his mansion. But Harper, he had never asked her for anything. The most luxurious thing she gave him was a broken watch Zoe had discarded. Isabella clenched her palm tightly, quickly drawing blood, but it was nothing compared to the pain in her heart. Tears of regret fell. She suddenly remembered every time she had hurt Harper in the past. Even though she knew he was innocent, Henry's departure made her misdirected her anger at him. She severed his right hand, ruined his artwork, turning him overnight from the most promising design genius to a disabled person unable to care for himself, even with a prosthetic arm. His hand would never be as nimble as before, only enough for basic self-care. To provoke and torment him, she even pulled Zoe to perform a lewd spectacle in front of him while he was severely injured and not yet recovered. Afterward, she even tacitly allowed Zoe to throw used lace lingerie in his face. Her heart constricted sharply. She suddenly remembered that even the time she rarely humbled herself to soup porridge, it was the almond milk concoction that had once hurt him the most. She was anxious at the time, only instinctively wanting to save him, but she completely forgot that lotus seeds were his allergen. Speaking of which, it was she who had ordered people to forcefully make him consume 10 bowls of the almond milk concoction back then, which led to him later being unable to touch lotus seeds at all. Later, she clearly wanted to make amends. She took him to see the sea, but ended up causing him to be humiliated and lost his life. Now that she thought about it, what she heard on the deck wasn't an illusion on the deck. It was Harper's final desperate cries for help. But what was she doing at the time? She was distracted her again and again by Zoe. She clearly had a chance to save him. Isabella's vision blurred, and she suddenly coughed up a mouthful of blood, falling straight backward. When she woke up again, the vast white ceiling greeted her eyes. But there was no longer any familiar voice of concern beside her. She closed her eyes regretfully, hot tears gushing out. A strong hatred suddenly surged in her heart. But her thoughts were interrupted. Isabella, I heard about your husband's fate. I'm also very saddened. But the dead cannot be resurrected. I finally recognized my ex-wife's true colors. Fortunately, you still have me from now on. Henry finished speaking affectionately but didn't get the expected reaction. He frowned, just about to say something, when Isabella scoffed and spoke. Finally stop pretending, willing to come back. Good. Let's settle all the new scores together. The person before her was someone she had longed for so long, but upon actually seeing him, her heart was calm, completely devoid of any excitement. Instead, an overwhelming hatred churned in her chest. Do you two brothers really take me for a fool? I always knew that you eloped for love back then and framed Harper, but all these years, you weren't willing to let go of me, your Emily. Covertly dropping hints and even sending Zoe to keep me on a leash, Isabella suddenly clapped her hands. Countless bodyguards rushed in, surrounding the two of them. Henry hadn't expected her to know everything and immediately turned pale. He tried to jog her memory. Isabella, I admit I didn't recognize my true feelings before, but have you forgotten how sweet we used to be? Don't you dare bring up the past. Isabella clutched hers in agony. The moment she thought of the past, she was reminded of how good Harper used to be to her. But what about her? How had she repaid him? She was destined to owe him for this lifetime. From the moment they met, Harper had lost his beloved parents, saving her. Willow, what was so great about Harper anyway? Isn't it convenient he's dead, making way for my brother? Isabella's eyes reddened. What Harper had endured, neither of you brothers will escape. Lately, my headaches have become increasingly frequent. For some reason, my past memories were growing increasingly blurry. After 3 years of transformation, I could barely remember even Isabella's name. 3 years ago, Ari had expended countless efforts and resources to help me recover my health. The prosthetic arm that had been damaged during the struggle was replaced with a more advanced one. After my recovery, I underwent a few days of brief training before joining the intense experiment. Initially, my fingers weren't nimble enough to handle the reagents, but Jordan stayed by my side, encouraging me to train diligently. On the day the experimental results were put into trial, we gathered nervously. The moment it succeeded, everyone cheered. That evening, Zoe took us to a dinner gathering, and afterward, Jordan looked at me, her face flushed red. My heart suddenly softened. I remembered how she had relentlessly pursued me back then, and the promise I had made to her. If the experiment succeeded, I would give her an answer. My dormant heart was stirred as I lovingly brushed a strand of hair from her forehead. Yes, I promise you. Her eyes instantly sparkled, and she joyfully wanted to pinky swear with me. No lying, Harper. I indulgently reached out my hand, but the next moment, my head began to throb intensely. My vision gradually blurred with double images, and I quickly lost consciousness. I woke up in a hospital, drowsily. I heard Jordan's conversation with the doctor. What do you mean, Harper? He was given an injection before that caused amnesia as a side effect. Oh no, it must have been his ex-wife. I frowned. An ex-wife? When had I ever been married? And had an ex-wife? The conversation outside continued. Mr. Robert has lost all memories from 3 years ago. With current medical conditions, it's feared there's no way to recover them. Soon, alongside what hurt, it's a good thing for Harper to forget those past events. Had my past been so bad? I frowned, utterly perplexed. Harper, you're awake. Seeing the familiar face, I finally felt a little more at ease, but deep down, I always felt an empty space. Not love, but something akin to hatred. Jordan, did I lose my memory? Was I married before? She felt a pang of heartache. Her eyes reddened, and she didn't say much, just briefly mentioned a few things. She let me know that my ex-wife was a very bad woman. I nodded, indicating I understood. Remembering something, I said apologetically, Jordan, I heard Zoe say before that you've been waiting for me all these years. I don't want to delay you any longer. Since we've confirmed our relationship, we can start talking about the engagement. As I finished speaking, Jordan visibly froze, her eyes subtly glistening. I lovingly wiped away her tears. Pick a date and take me to meet Jennifer. Okay, why bother with an engagement? I want to marry you directly. The reputation of the billionaire's family was well deserved. The wedding ceremony was grand, with an entire private island booked for the venue. On the wedding day, countless VIP guests arrived in helicopters to attend. Jordan Thomas even sent countless armed guards to maintain order. Jennifer personally presided over the ceremony and also invited numerous reporters from prominent news outlets for a global live broadcast. But midway through the ceremony, during our vows, a disheveled and deranged woman suddenly burst through the entrance. With a burning gaze, she disregarded the layers of armed guards beside her and single-mindedly tried to rush towards me. The armed guards, having received no instructions, were actually pushed aside by her for a moment. She seemed extremely agitated, her whole body trembling uncontrollably. Harper, is that you? I've finally seen you. The moment I saw your face on the live broadcast, I frantically ran all the way here. She was covered in wounds, her bare feet were raw and red, leaving bloody trails on the ground. Who knows how many times she had fallen? Yet, she revealed a contented smile. It's okay, Harper, don't feel a pang of heartache for me. As long as I can see you again, I'll give up anything, Harper. I forgive you for disappearing for 3 years and not seeing me. As long as you calm down and come home with me, I promise I'll make it up to you for the rest of our lives. She extended her hand towards me, full of hope, and a chaotic murmur rippled through the audience. The guests watched my reaction, either tense or excited, but I suddenly took a step back, disgustedly recoiled from her touch. Who are you? Where did this lunatic come from? She froze, looking at me in disbelief. Harper, I'm your wife. How could you forget me? No. You must be joking with me, right? Remembering something, she hurriedly said, trying to appease me. Are you still bothered by Henry and his brother? Don't worry, I've already inflicted 100-fold of what you suffered on both of them. Now they've long been tortured to death by me. Their bodies were fed to the dogs. Oh, and by the way, I also aborted Henry's child back then. Harper, are you finally appeased now? She cautiously extended her hand towards me, but I frowned. Henry, who's that? Isabella froze completely, suddenly remembering the injection she had given me before. The doctor had told her then that the side effect could lead to amnesia, but she had dismissed it. She forced a smile, uglier than a cry. It's all right, Harper, come home with me. I'm sure I can find a way to cure your amnesia. I, however, coldly avoided her touch and firmly pulled Jordan into my embrace. So you're my ex-wife, aren't you? We're already divorced. Allow me to introduce you. This is my wife. It was unclear which word deeply provoked her. Her eyes were completely reddened. No, I am your wife. I never signed those divorce papers. I frowned slightly, not recalling that detail, but Jordan, standing beside me, blocked my path and sneered. Back then, Harper almost couldn't be saved. This Isabella had already been cancelled by me. Open your eyes and see clearly. Harper is my husband now. Isabella, however, went mad, immediately reaching out to scratch her face in jealousy. You're talking nonsense. Harper is clearly mine. You must have took advantage of Ethan's amnesia. I suddenly seized her hand and harshly threw her to the ground. Enough. Even if I have amnesia, I can't feel even a trace of love for you. Someone, get this lunatic out of here. Isabella's forehead hit the cold ground, and she couldn't help but painfully contorted her face. But even though she was bleeding profusely, I didn't spare her another glance. The appellation lunatic stimulated her even more deeply. The guests below couldn't help but murmur amongst themselves, where did this beggar come from? TS, falsely claiming to be an ex-wife, just trying to cause trouble. Right, exactly. She doesn't even look at herself. Is she worthy of Mr. Robert? That's right. Mr. Robert is the latest Nobel laureate, and he holds significant influence in the entire field of scientific research. Isabella suddenly let out a self-deprecating laugh. She hadn't even known that Harper was now so outstanding. She had originally thought that Harper only had achievements in art, but in the end, her understanding of him was still too shallow. Knowing she was no longer worthy of him, she still couldn't help but ask him resentfully, is she better than me? Is she as excellent as me? Does she earn more money than me? She asked confidently. But the next moment, the guests had already burst into laughter. She really is a lunatic. What kind of joke is she making? Miss Jessica is a Nobel laureate in physics alongside Mr. Robert, and she's also the daughter of the world's richest man. And she asks if Miss Jessica earns more money than her. Where does she get the nerve? Isabella stumbled back a few steps in disbelief, her face burned with shame. She knew she had completely lost Harper. With heart-wrenching pain, she walked back, only to be swarmed by reporters who recognized her. Excuse me, are you Mrs. Xue? What are your thoughts on becoming declared bankrupt and lost all her assets? In your company's complete bankruptcy recently, we heard the reason for the bankruptcy was your excessive longing for her ex-husband and prolonged alcoholism. Is this information true? Isabella's face turned ashen pale. She hadn't expected the news of her bankruptcy to be publicly revealed right in front of Harper. But before she could think of a countermeasure, questions ran out one after another. And there are rumors online that you inflicted double the suffering her ex-husband endured upon her white moonlight and his brother, leading to their deaths. Is this information true? What was your state of mind when you committed successive murders of 2 individuals? Isabella's face went completely white. She looked remotely at me on the stage, only to find me lovingly adjusting her war gown. Police sirens blared in the distance. She gave a bitter laugh, then shot herself at the wedding had a small hiccup. But fortunately, the ending was perfect. Looking at Jordan, that empty space in my heart was completely filled. Dazzling light shone on her beautiful face, revealing her charming dimples. Amidst the cheers of the guests below the stage, I chuckled and leaned in for a kiss. It was truly wonderful. The moment I held her, I felt as if I held the entire world.